Welcome to the weekly game preview brought to you by Wise Markets. I'm your host, Mitch Gerber. Coming up on today's show, we'll get you set for Penn State and Ohio State with the voice of the Nittany Lions, Steve Jones. We'll hear from head coach James Franklin momentarily as he addresses the local media following Wednesday's practice, and we'll go one-on-one with Penn State wide receiver Parker Washington. For now, let's head on over to head coach James Franklin.
Have handled things pretty well. They both have gotten a bunch of reps. Bayou's reps have dramatically gone up, obviously, with Sean's situation, because at that stage, Bayou is the number 3. I think they both handled it pretty well. Obviously, you're trying to compare and contrast, but it's two different scenarios a little bit. But I think they've handled it pretty well.
This whole journey out here earlier, how often does he get out to practice, and what does that say about him as a leader that he's still coming out and offering guidance?
Yeah, he comes out a lot. I'd like for him to be here every single day. Obviously academically he's got a lot on his plate. It's really important to me that he graduates from Penn State, so really working hard at that, and I know he is as well. I'd like all these medical guys, Jordan Minor, Journey, all these guys, I want them around the program as much as possible. I think it's important for them. I think it's important for us. We've had kind of an unusual number of them, with pretty serious cases since I've been here, probably more so than I've been around.
James, considering Tyler Warren's history at quarterback and your usage of him as a wildcat, Sean didn't seem like a capable runner at the goal line last week in terms of utilizing him that way. Is Warren a guy that you continue to monitor, maybe being that short yardage guy? You used him at the 4th down in overtime. Yeah, definitely. Obviously, that's what the package is for. There's strengths and minuses that come with that. Obviously, when it's your quarterback doing it, they have to defend kind of more of a wide open offense. But there's a place, obviously, for Tyler doing that, and we'll continue to do that.
James, when you look at kind of your running,
is Audrey the only one that's asking questions today?
It's my show today, right?
Yeah. This is their third.
When you kind of look at your running game, the short yardage stuff, is there anything that stands out? I mean, I know you said yesterday you have to be more physical, get more of a push, but it seems like this has been an issue kind of more than just this year.
Yeah, I think the first thing, to your point, it's fundamentals and technique. It's also size and mass and strength. And it's also, making sure our runners are running with the right type of mentality down there. I think it's all of it. I don't think there's any question about that. So it's something we're going to continue to emphasize and continue to work on. But it starts with that. We got to get more push, and we got to be more physical at the point of attack. That's with our offensive line and tight ends.
James, you talked about being physical at the point of attack a couple weeks ago too. How do you go about addressing that in the middle of the season?
Yeah, I think we've gotten a little bit better. There's been signs of it. It's hard to do it in the season. Especially in practice when you want to stay off the ground and things like that and keep people healthy, especially with where we are from a health perspective. But I think more than anything, it's pad level, it's footwork, it's fundamentals that we were working today in practice, having some of the good work that I think some of you guys were down there with the O-line, D-line, what we call pod work, working together. That's been important for us as well.
You mentioned last week gaining weight and playing more inside as the season goes on to help out with the situation there. How much can a player change their body type during the season? Guys that did get to do something in the off season, is there potential for growth during the season in general?
Yeah, I think there is potential for growth, but I would also say that Amin, for example, has kind of always been a tweener. He's always been the big DN, and we've had a lot of conversations. There's been times where he's been at D tackle. There's been times that he's been at defensive end. And weight-wise, he's been one of our bigger defensive ends. So this has always been kind of something that we were talking about early on. We felt like we needed him at end for depth. But then obviously after losing PJ, we felt like the best thing was for him to move inside. But there are some challenges that come with that.
Hey, James, is there an impact physically, mentally, injury-wise, coming out of the gate with 2 or 3 really hard games, the whiteout kind of front-ending the schedule? Because that's not usually the case.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that factor into it from a scheduling philosophy, whether it's the Big Ten scheduling philosophy, whether it's our scheduling philosophy. Our beginning of the season was very challenging, was very physical, was against very physical style teams. And with that, comes wear and tear and an importance of development from a depth perspective. One of the other things that we've been able to do in years past is play a lot of guys early on, develop them for depth later in the season. And you really didn't get to do either early on this season. So, that's the nature of it. We knew it was coming. We need to be prepared for it throughout summer, throughout the off season and things like that, once we decided to go with that type of schedule.
James, I think Travion Henderson was the 4th running back in week 1 for Ohio State. What have you all seen from his body of work as a freshman that makes him such a standout right away?
Yeah, I think he's changed them. They've always obviously been talented at the running back position, but he's made them just so much more explosive. I obviously was a highly regarded guy out of high school, and he's showing that he's been able to do it. I think the biggest thing where he's different is the speed. He's extremely explosive, obviously behind one of the bigger offensive lines in the country, and then obviously the threats that they have on the perimeter as well. It's a challenging combination of athletes to stop.
You're a relationship guy, and when it comes to some of the stuff we've talked about away from football this week, at the end of the day, everybody just sort of has to take somebody's word for what they say. Do you worry about burning goodwill with people that you have to talk to? How do you balance whatever's going on in your life with the things you want to achieve here, the things you want to achieve in general, and getting that done while at the same time keeping life to yourself?
Yeah, I think it's fair. At some point, I'd love the guys to sit down with you guys over a beer and talk through all of this, in detail, kind of how it goes, the challenging situations that coaches are put in sometimes, especially if you're trying to be honest and upfront with everybody. And that's something that's very, very important to me. I think I have shown my loyalty to this team, to this program, to this community. I think I've been pretty consistent with that. There's times that you're put in challenging situations. And I just always want to be able to, when I say something, it's done and it's in stone. And when you're talking about the future, that can be challenging at times. So I am fiercely loyal to Penn State. I am fiercely loyal, most importantly, to these players and the staff. But there's a lot of moving parts with all of these things. There's a lot of moving parts, some of which we have talked about in the past. But at some point when it's appropriate, I would love to sit down with you guys and just kind of talk through college football, talk through these circumstances and these situations that come up. But, I think your question is a fair one. But for me, that's what it's all about. It's about my relationships with these players and the staff and the people in that Lash building and the people in the community. And I think if people really would just take a minute and kind of think about how we've conducted ourselves over 8 years in the community and everything else, I think our actions have aligned with that every step of the way.
Is there something that, going along those lines, is there something that we're missing with this backup quarterback situation? As in, why didn't Taquan get a shot around the goal line when you're on the 7th, 8th 2-point try? Like, is that something that you guys have considered?
I think, like I've stated before, we felt like through practice, hours of evaluation on the field, hours of evaluation on film, that Sean gave us the best chance to win. Although he was limited, we felt like he gave us the best chance to win at this time based on everything we know. I remember having a similar conversation with you guys a few years back about Trace McSorley.
James, both you and Sean this week have mentioned that he needs to be able to run the ball for this offense to do what it can do and create behind the line of scrimmage as well. Is that something you have to gauge throughout series by series this week to see, can he be that effective runner? And if he's not, do you have to have that plan B prepared?
Yeah, I think you always have to have the plan B prepared. But last Sunday, we knew it was kind of day to day. This Sunday, in my conversations, I think he's got a real good chance to be as close to 100% as we've seen in multiple weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
That's head coach James Franklin addressing the local media following Wednesday's practice as he wraps up his media obligations for the week, aside from the radio show tomorrow evening, as we're now joined by wide receiver Parker Washington.
Short side the radio show.
Voice
Come
of
on.
the Nittany Lions, Steve Jones, all here on the Wise Markets weekly preview show. And Parker, coach was just talking a little bit, obviously, about turning the page and everything that entails. How have you guys, as a wide receiver unit, turned the page?
Oh, we just like we do every day, take it one day at a time and just look for the next opportunity. And that's in Columbus this weekend. We're excited to make more plays.
All right, so here you are, halfway through a little bit more than your second season here. So you work on your game all the time. So where do you know you're better than a year ago at this time?
Just how comfortable I am now, and being able to see the game slow down in front of me. That's the best feeling, and that's like what you want as a receiver. And I'm excited every day and every play.
You know, going off of that from a mental standpoint, this point in the season, there's obviously a grind to what you guys do in the college football landscape. How have you mentally gotten better when it comes to the grind of a football season?
Just being excited every day and just to come and play the game that we love to play. And I feel like that's fueled me every day and has helped me throughout this whole season.
What have you learned from Jahan Dotson in your time here?
Oh, it's just like I say every time, it's fun to play with Jahan, and it's just fun in the meeting rooms, fun on the field, and you learn so much seeing that he's an older guy and seeing how much he developed over the years, and it's exciting to see that every day as well.
So speaking of the meeting room, how do you guys challenge each other in that wide receiver position room?
It's competition no matter what, competing in everything you do, and no matter what we're doing, if we're watching film or running routes at practice, we're always trying to get better off each other and compete in that way and see who can run the best routes and stuff like that, make the best catches, anything.
13 years ago when you're yay high, okay, they had a receiver here named Jordan Norwood. Okay, now Norwood still holds the Super Bowl record for the longest punt return with the Broncos. You're the best change of direction guy I've seen since him. So when did that start for you? Did it start when you were playing biddy ball? Did it start in junior high? Who encouraged that change of direction? Because you turn on a dime.
I would say it started mostly 6th grade.
There you go.
That's right. That's really in middle school. I used to watch Tavon Austin highlights all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And that was my favorite guy. And I would watch him pretty much every day or every weekend before I played. And that's kind of sparked me to want to do those things and change direction and make plays with the ball in my hands and stuff like that.
So, Jack Ham and I have talked about that a whole bunch. Now I have an answer.
There you go. 6th grade Tavon Austin. Not a bad person to model yourself off of. When you do look at the NFL and you look at some of those other wide receivers that are dominating at the next level, how do you model your game after people like that?
Oh, you see what they do, and you kind of you learn from it, and you see what you can add to your game and stuff like that. And I would say it's almost like a film thing, but you're much so just watching the game. But that's kind of how I look at it when I model myself off the.
So are you ever sitting there on Sunday afternoon, kind of sitting on the couch before team meetings and stuff like that, kind of writing down, somebody just did that?
No, definitely.
It feels like Texas, does it?
No. Definitely not.
Parker, appreciate you joining us tonight, and we'll see you Saturday.
Thank you so much, Josh.
That's wide receiver Parker Washington
A
of the
little
Penn
yawl
State
at the
football
end.
program.
Did you like that little yawl at the end?
Little yawl.
There you go.
Down there in the south for the Texas natives. 7:30 kick this Saturday in Columbus, Ohio. Penn State, Ohio State, October the 30th. And if you're not able to be in attendance, the game will be on ABC. Now, Steve, as we turn the page on this preview show towards that matchup, what should fans watch for when it comes to Saturday's game?
Well, when you look at Ohio State, it's obvious offensively they've been explosive. We all know that. And C.J. Stroud's done a nice job at quarterback. Good player. I mean, the last 156 plays that he's been a quarterback, Stroud, they've scored 150 points. It's a point of play. All right, now here they are against Indiana. We know Indiana, now they're a depleted defense at this point, unfortunately for Indiana, but look at the efficiency way he throws the ball there. I mean, Olave and Wilson are terrific receivers. 3 of the top 4 receivers in the Big Ten are all going to be on the same field Saturday night. Henderson's been a terrific running back for them. James talked about him moments ago. I mean, here's Henderson right here. He's got that burst. He's got 11 touchdowns. Look at how he gets through the hole there. And goodbye, he is gone and takes care of business. In Rucker, they used him a lot more at tight end in the Indiana game. Jackson Smith and Jigma, they used him more in that game as well. It just, look, they're really good offensively. Really good. There's no getting around. Defensively, play a lot of one high safety with Ronnie Hickman. He's number 14. There's Jack Tuttle trying to step on, but there's the pressure he's getting. Cage is now back in the lineup. He was involved in that play there. You don't think I know the numbers. Haskell Garrett, guys like that. That's Harrison making that sack right there. Now look, they're getting more pressure on the quarterback than before, which is making a big difference for them. And that's really helped. But they play 5 DBs, 2 linebackers. Yeah, and it just, more and more it seemed to be comfortable with what they're doing with their defense compared to the first 3 games of the season.
The number one question to any game, especially the next game going up against Ohio State, is how does a program start fast? So what is your X factor when the game kicks off on Saturday evening at 7:30 to start fast for Penn State?
Well, go out there, respect with no fear. Okay? Just go play them. I mean, they're as good. Just go out and play them, So you go out and you make your plays. You execute. You be the one that set the tone in the game, right? Make them play from behind, right? They've only really had to play from behind a couple of times this year. That was Minnesota in the opener, and then Ibrahim got hurt, and it changed the tone of that game, and obviously the Oregon game, and Thibodeau didn't play in that game. So, I think, that's how you do it. You go out, and guess what? You're the team that's precise. You execute. You play loose. You have fun with the game.
7:30 kick this Saturday in Columbus, Ohio. Penn State and Ohio State. Join us for the Unrivaled pregame show ahead of time, roughly about 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. We'll be live from inside the stadium there. Penn State, Ohio State, October the 30th, 7:30 kick on ABC. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening.
This is the day. We will know a whole lot by the time the dust settles.
Welcome back to Happy Valley.
Everything matters. That's where we win right here. But on the field.
Where we want to be at the end of the season starts with our mentality and our attention to detail today.